Hi guys, thanks for joining. We've got some slides, but we're not here to cover slides, right? We're here to talk about how can we use technology right now in a practical way to improve your business. Some of the ideas that I'm going to be presenting, I'll probably be preaching to the choir, and some of them are hopefully some new concepts. But the more we interact, the better, and let's not get caught up on the slides. And so I want to be able to say, okay, when we leave, what's some practical ways we can use technology to improve your business right now? And so with right now, there's a lot of technology changes that are happening, and we're going to see a huge amount of technology change over the next 5 to 10 years. And so how do you think about the technology change? How do you prepare your company for the technology change? And then how do you evaluate it? Before we get into all that, I run a software company. And we are in the age of AI, where AI is apparently going to make us all unemployed, and starting with the CEOs, and and going down. But so there's a lot of technology change that affects our industry as well as yours. And so I have to look at it as someone who runs a business and also someone who's building technology. So as O'Neill, we were the original innovators who brought software into record centers 43 years ago. We're the only company who has rebuilt our product as a cloud product. We just launched Annex.com, which is the world's first cloud platform for offsite storage. So that's e-commerce. You can now, as an O'Neill Cloud customer, share contracts globally by putting your own pricing in. So Annex.com is pretty revolutionary in the industry. And then we also, this week, we actually brought the first Bluetooth lock for an executive shred console. So you can actually manage your shred consoles with our mobile app now. So I'm very big in technology as far as saying we're not gonna build 500 features this year. We're gonna work really hard for 2 or 3 years on the one thing that makes our customers the most money. We're going to use technology and leverage technology to improve their business, whether that is reducing their expenses, or even better, as a CEO, I want to make more money, right? How do we create top-tier products with technology? I can also talk from my perspective of coming into O'Neill, a 43-year-old company. I came in 4 years ago during COVID, and using technology to rebuild a 43-year-old company and the benefits. So some of the benefits that I've seen from changing up our technology infrastructure was we used to have customer data on 4 different databases, right? Sending out an email to our customers was chaotic and a long shot, right? We didn't have clean data. I brought in a single CRM package, HubSpot, which now runs our sales, our marketing, our support, and even our software licensing. So it's a single kind of point of truth that allows me to help manage my business. And the result is that we have better communication with our customers, and that we also have more transparency on where our customers are. In a snapshot, I can look up any customer and see what software they're on, what their current pain points are because of support calls, and what we're trying to help them accomplish. And so that is a huge, powerful tool that I have on an app in my pocket. It's phenomenal. We've also done things like we brought in NetSuite to handle our finances. So we used to have 6 people on our finance team. I hired a new VP of finance. We brought in a new software package, which was pretty expensive. It's hard to sign some of these contracts where you're signing off, $50,000, $60,000 thing. Okay, you want the software, so I'm gonna do it, and that's what I hired you for. But after 2 years, our invoicing had gone down. We can now close month end in 1 or 2 days. And we have customers in over 100 countries on contracts that have been signed pre-dial-up internet. It's a very complex thing. We can now close month's end in 1 or 2 days, and so that's huge value for things like cash flow. But also, we only have 3 people on our team now. So while I had to spend $50,000, $60,000 on a particular software product, it actually reduced 1 or 2 employees. And so I used to not get excited about buying software. Like, no one really gets excited about buying software until you start seeing the benefits that these products are bringing in. And the automation that we're seeing through software is going to be greatly amplified by AI. So one of the things that I've done is started getting my team to go to conferences, and I can talk a little bit about that. We attended the Wall Street Journal Tech Live conference where Sam Altman was talking, and so we could talk to other business leaders and say, okay, what's really happening? Because when we gather that information, that's information we leverage for our customers. I'm going to talk a bit about that, but before we get into all of that, I got a little repeat after me. that I do with some of my customers. Something that I tell my team is that, and I want you to repeat this, products don't compete.
Products don't compete.
Services don't compete.
Services don't compete.
Companies compete.
Companies compete.
Okay? As AI comes in, it allows you to change your competitive advantage, right? So if I'm allocating 6 employees to my finance division, well, and then I'm able to bring in a software product that brings it down to 3, I'm then able to allocate those funds into my R&D, right? As AI comes in, and AI is actually a very helpful tool in writing software. It can bring your lowest software developer up to par with your top guy. And so it increases your quality and your productivity. And so as that happens, you have to say, well, where's my competitive advantage? We're an engineering firm, so our competitive advantage has always been we build the best product. So when I tell my company, I say products don't compete, that doesn't mean that we take shortcuts. It means that as we bring on tools to lower our expenses of building software, we have to be more competitive with sales and with marketing. So when we look at things like AI right now is really valuable with marketing, right? So Pete is my VP of marketing. He says that what you can do right now with AI, with one marketing person, is what 10 people used to be able to do 5 years ago, right? Is that pretty close? Yeah. So as we bring on those tools, then it comes to, okay, well, it's now easier to create a larger amount of marketing material and content. So it becomes more important that you communicate your message, right? And that your marketing team and yourself are on the same message, because if you're going to create 100 blog posts, you want to make sure that that messaging is correct, or else your customer is going to start getting the wrong information. I also believe as technology goes in one direction, people tend to go into another direction. So social media is something that has changed our lives over 10 years. And out of social media came glamping. Anyone into glamping? You guys know what glamping is? Glamping is like, you want to go camping, but you want to be comfortable. And so, you know, they pay a lot for a fancy tent. So they want to go outside, they want to be connected to nature, they want to put away their phone, and they're willing to pay for it, but they also want to be comfortable. That's glamping. And so I feel like technology always has this yin-yang. And so something I talk about is technology. You build, say, a smart lock. You can work with engineers and you can understand how that lock works and this and that, and you can test it in different environments. But then you give it to your customers, and that's where the real testing begins. Is what is my customer going to do with this, and do they like it, do they not like it, how does it break? So beta testing used to be on software, used to be on engineering. I think beta testing is more on how do people adopt the technology. So a lot of this is as technology changes, what I want to challenge you guys to do is continuously think about how am I using technology, how am I changing my business with technology to be competitive. We're going to see a lot of change over the next 5 to 10 years. A good example of that is the Apple VR goggles. I bought them like day 2 they were out. Has anyone used VR goggles? We have them at our booth. You know, you can go sample them, use them. When they first came out, it's really good for watching a movie, right? You can actually, the environments are fantastic. I can go on to Disney Plus and I feel like I'm sitting on Tatooine in the speeder and watching Star Wars. I can go and I feel like I'm sitting on the moon watching Star Wars. It's fantastic, but it wasn't really practical. I tried using it in my office, which I think just annoyed everyone, right? I'm putting up screens and I'm saying, okay, how do I use this to actually become more efficient? Didn't happen, right? After about a week, I said, okay, I'm just gonna leave my toys at home. And, but 2 days ago, Apple did an update to where now 2 people can be collaborative in a single environment. And so, you know, when you're looking at some of these pieces of technology, they're really setting a foundation for future development. So that was one of the things that really popped out to me at the Wall Street Journal. Is Sam Altman's there talking, and this is top 200-300 tech leaders are there. So like the CEO of Twitter and Sam Altman, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger, John Legend. I don't know why he was there. I didn't really get that one. But one of the things that they were talking about was Sam Altman was there 10 years ago talking about AI. He's here now talking about AI. And one of the things that they said is he'll be here in 10 years when it's really good. And so a lot of this technology, when you hear about it like AI, what they're trying to do is get investors to buy into it with this idea of later down the road, this is what we're going to be able to do, but we need a lot of money to get there. And so they're selling their investors on it. So right now, there are things like AI is really good for your marketing team. But in 2027, you're supposed to be able to buy a humanoid robot that can actually, you actually tell it how to do your dishes. You say, this is my dishwasher, you're gonna pull this out, you're gonna put the plates here and the forks here, and my wife would really appreciate it if you put the spoons here. And the robot, from hearing it, will use AI to actually do it. No coding, no keyboard. Those are projects like, if you look up the Tesla robot or Figure AI, that's what they're working on right now, is using AI, the verbal commands to do it. And so those are technologies that you're seeing right now that there's a lot of investment in that you need to prepare for 5 years from now, right? And say where should we be going? And so that's a lot of my product path, is I look at that and I say, okay, well, if I'm hearing that that's going to be 5 years from now, how am I preparing my product? How am I preparing my clients and building that foundation for them in 5 years? So artificial intelligence and machine learning, a lot of people are talking about it, and then I'm always like, okay, give me some meat on the bone. How can I use it today, right? Is there anyone using it today in their office? Yeah, how are you using it?
I'm a marketer.
Okay.
So I'm using it to do an outline of marketing strategies. I ask it questions about the best way to approach social media posts, Google advertising.
Yeah.
And I have the paid version, so
Yeah.
I don't just listen to what it says. I take what it says and then I keep plugging in more information.
Yeah.
I also use it to do quantitative math so that I can actually figure out, for example, how much web traffic would I need this year to get this many leads in order to get this many conversions.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really great. I use it for the same collaborativeness of just bouncing something off. And thanks. All right.
Thank you.
Of bouncing it off and then giving some structure.
Sure, yeah. You can't take what it says verbatim, and a lot of people do that. But it will help you. You have to have a conversation.
I kind of do the conversation thing with it, and then but it's anything from writing letters to then like before I send an attorney something, I say, well, and then I have a better outline, and so when he gathers it, it's better information that he can tailor, and hopefully saves me $5, but kind of thing. But anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, we use it a bit differently. We use it in our scanning operations. We use AI instead of OCR. We use AI to strip the information off the documents.
Yeah.
And present them in a quicker, better form platform, I guess.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. All right.
How does that work, sir? How does that work for your scanning?
So instead of using OCR, we're using AI and machine learning to rip the information off the page. So instead of having the template build, we're using AI and machine learning to do that without having to build templates.
We use it to write brochures and tear sheets because it's pretty boring. It's a degaussing product. It doesn't change much. You have the AI start to make, let's make this interesting. And then when it hallucinates, you stop and go back to that.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. I posted on LinkedIn a while ago. I said, what OpenAI is to Wikipedia, Avatar was to Pocahontas. It's the same story. It's the same thing. It's AI's being trained off of content that people are creating, and so you can't always trust it. You kind of have to audit it, and that's where when people are talking about AI replacing jobs, that's what you really have to pick up on. Is it can do things, but you still need someone to say, is this good content? So I was on a speaker with I was at a conference, and the speaker was talking about, he was like, asked the audience about, have you used OpenAI and all this, and they said yes, and he said were the results good? And he said, and that was his question, was some people said yes, some people said no, and he said, so you're still smarter, right? You're still the one who is verifying that it was a good answer or a bad answer. So there's technology, and then there's as technology changes, culture changes. So it's interesting. I heard from a parent the other day that they told their 13-year-old kid something and said, oh, this is how this works. And the kid automatically picks up their phone and types it into Google and says, oh, Dad, you're right. It is how it works. Google told me so. And it was, where's the point of truth? So those are kind of the things to look at with AI that I think is pretty interesting. We've got...
Something shifted in 2017. There was sort of a swap that happened, Indiana Jones style, between the kind of engine that was driving AI. And what happened is, technically, it's a model called transformers. It's really interesting. It's only 200 lines of code. It's very simple. But the effect is this. When I went to college, AI had many different sub-disciplines. And if you were studying computer vision, you'd use one textbook and you'd go over here to one classroom. If I was studying robotics, I'd go over here to another classroom with a different textbook. I couldn't read papers across disciplines. And every advance in one field couldn't be used in another field. So there'd be like a 2% advance over here, and that didn't do anything for, say, like music generation if it was from image generation. What changed is this thing called the Great Consolidation. All of these became one field under the banner of language. The deep insight is that you could treat anything as a kind of language, and the AI could model it. How about this? Can we go from the patterns of your brain when you're looking at an image to reconstructing the image? So the way this worked was they put human beings inside an fMRI machine. They had them look at images and figure out what the patterns are, like translate from image to brain patterns. And then, of course, they would hide the image. So this is an image of a giraffe that the computer has never seen. It's only looking at the fMRI data, and this is what the computer thinks the human is seeing. How about, can we go from Wi-Fi radio signals, you know, sort of like the Wi-Fi routers in your house, they're bouncing off radio signals that work sort of like sonar. Can you go from that to where human beings are to images? So what they did is they had, you know, a camera looking at a space with people in it. That's sort of like coming in from one eye. The other eye is the radio signals, so sonar from the Wi-Fi router. And they just learned to predict, like, this is where the human beings are. Then they took away the camera, so all the AI had was the language of radio signals bouncing around a room, and this is what they're able to reconstruct.
So where this technology is today, it's progressing and moving. And so it's just like the Apple goggles. It's when they first came out, it's very much a proof of concept. It works. It's great for watching movies. Well, then a couple months later, once everyone has returned their Apple goggles, they bring out a function that's actually kind of useful, where you can now share environments. Same thing with AI. So I'm going to ask you guys a question at the end of this talk. I'm going to ask 3 questions to 3 different people. Better be prepared. And it was a question that was asked to me about 2 weeks ago. I was at a conference of founders and CEOs and a lot of venture capitalists. And I was talking to different CEOs. I was talking to a guy named Ross. And Ross was the founder of Spiegelworld. Anyone heard of Spiegelworld? Look it up. I looked it up after I talked to Ross. It's the largest circus in the world. Did you hear of a circus that bought a town out in the desert of California? That was Spiegelworld. That was Ross. This guy is like, he's probably in his 60s. He owns the largest circus in the world. He owns restaurants and stuff around Las Vegas. And so he was telling me, he was saying, no circus has ever outlived its founder. And so he says, in my staff meetings, when I have my staff there, my leadership team, he says, I ask them 3 questions. These are the questions I'm going to ask you. Where's the company going to be in 5 years? Where's the company going to be in 10 years? Where's the company going to be in 10,000 years? And he says he actually makes his staff answer and say, what's the circus going to look like in 10,000 years? We're doing circus on Mars. When we look at technology and the progression of technology, you have to start, I want you guys to start imagining, how am I going to be using this technology? What's my business going to look like in 5 years? What's it going to look like in 10 years? What's it going to look like in 10,000 years? Is paper still going to be here? Who thinks paper will still be here? I think it will. Just extra information. We have customers in 100 countries doing record centers. We still see a 3% increase in paper storage. 3%. We still sell tier increases. We're still doing things. Paper's not going away, right? So that will be the question to ask. So today, the tools that you can use are not going to be the same as the tools that we have 5 years from now. Is that there's a lot of R&D going into these different products. Remote work, digital nativism. Who believes in remote? Who's pro remote work? Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, partial. 5. Okay, 5, 6. Who's against remote work? All right, nice. Do you guys know who a guy Lucky Palmer is? Anyone heard of Lucky Palmer? He was the founder, inventor of Oculus VR goggles that sold to Meta for like $2 billion. And And so he went and worked for them. They fired him because he was pro-Trump. He now runs like a different company. And but I was at a conference listening to him speak, and someone asked him, you know, you're the founder of Oculus VR goggles. What are your thoughts on remote work? And he goes, total scam. He's like, it's a total scam because during COVID, all these big tech companies were not set up to work remote. And he's like, but you can't tell your investors that we're totally useless. He's like, so we have to they put out all of this PR information that said, oh, it's the future of information. But he said, right now, the team at Meta building the metaverse are in the office. He said, that tells you everything. Zoom is back in the office. And so I believe, you know, looking at where technology has changed and where people are changing is there are going to be more people doing remote work. I still am very pro, like, it totally depends on your company. We are in the office all the time, like as many people as we can, because we're building new things and I like the collaboration and I want to be able to tap on someone's shoulder and ask them a question. So I think it's very important. So, you know, with remote work, some companies are going to bring it on. I do believe that the tools are getting a lot better. I think the VR goggles, now that you can have a collaborative environment, does actually give me the belief that one day you can really feel like you're collaborating with other people, even though you're remote. And so that was one of my takeaways from owning some VR goggles is also, I understand I'm right about 40 and I'm a little more resistant to change, where Gen Z coming out of college, they're going to adapt VR a lot quicker. So while we might not think that remote work and VR is a great solution, it could be in 4 to 5 years that the tools are so good. And I'm in California, so California is actually really interesting. Anyone else in California? Yeah, you actually kind of have to prove now in California that you need your employees in office, which is like, thank you, Governor. But make my life a little easier. But so there are some changes there. E-commerce and digital transformation. So launching Annex.com, it's the industry's first true e-commerce solution. And so when we built it, we said no one in records management is going to like to show their pricing, but we'll figure that out later. We'll get over it. So I've been demoing for several months e-commerce. So someone actually goes into the software we built, they set their pricing, it syncs into this marketplace, so they're in control of their pricing. It hasn't actually been as hard of a sell. I think once people actually see it and they realize, you know what, I buy everything online. Like when you guys came out here, you probably bought your plane ticket online, you bought your hotel, you did everything online, you didn't go through a sales process. Even buying a car, what is it, Hyundai, that's now going to be selling on Amazon.com. So everyone expects to buy everything online. Records management, we still have a sales process. And so e-commerce is really, it's not just about putting your pricing, but it's about how do you gain customers' trust and start the relationship and then reduce cart abandonment. So that's a lot of what we're doing. And a lot of what I talk to customers about is I say, why is self-storage growing so fast that they can't build enough self-storage units, but secure storage isn't growing? Because I still see paper growing. And people generally go, you know, that's an interesting idea I hadn't thought about. Well, self-storage has e-commerce, it has marketplaces, it has Bluetooth locks. And then I go, and you see I'm not really doing anything that smart over at O'Neill. I'm just saying, well, this worked over in self-storage, we're going to apply it to our industry. And I think when you do, the consumers are going to respond. So if any of you guys are familiar with like Domino's and the Domino's story of where Domino's was really failing and a new CEO came with a technology first approach and literally turned Domino's around, that's a pretty incredible story. A lot of brands like Nike or UGG have done this switch in, if you're familiar with UGG, they originally had this strategy and then Nike copied them, where the CEO came in and he said, you can buy an UGG boot anywhere. There's like 1,000 stores I can buy an UGG boot at right now. This is a top tier product. And he said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to limit an UGG to 10 stores. I'm going to push all my sales direct online. And because of that, it's more of an exclusive brand. And so a lot of the e-commerce tools, you can there are ways of shaping your brand and associating your brand and doing that thing. So Nike turned around and copied them, and it's been pretty successful. In the future, yeah, you're going to have personal AI assistants. And so Amazon is beta testing their AI shopping assistant right now. B2B online marketplaces have a tremendous amount of value. So Amazon just put in, I think last year they put in $500 million into their B2B e-commerce business. And then Uber Eats, Uber is, it's not just driving, it's now delivery of goods. And even some of the partnerships they have are pretty interesting partnerships. And then Airbnb, consumers assume to have all the information at their fingertips to be able to make a purchasing price. So when I saw Amazon.com, Amazon is the everything store, right? That was Bezos's vision, was I'm going to sell everything online. And so, you know, when I talk to record centers about who's your competitor, you know, they say, well, Iron Mountain or Access or VRC is my competitor, depending on who you are. Well, what are you competing for? You're competing for your customer's dollar. So you're not just competing against other record centers, you're competing against other goods and services. You're competing for your customer's attention. And if you're going to compete, I really believe you need to make your goods and services just as accessible as Amazon. One of Amazon's things that they have patented that they're super proud of is the one-click purchase. And that's because they've removed all the friction to working with them. And that's a lot of the e-commerce model, is reduce all the friction, gain your customers' trust, and then nurture that relationship through the technology. Any thoughts, any questions? Any introverts? I'm an introvert. I just had a lot of coffee before they put me up here. So, because I always have a question, but I never talk, you know, do these things. So this is a bit of Annex. So what we have is we have independent databases. This is a central management tool for all the data. So all of our cloud customers are now able to go into Stratus, put in their pricing, their service area, and then when a company needs to manage their information globally, they can manage it through Annex. So it's the world's first e-commerce platform, and that's a lot of the data that we went to build this product. This next year, it's going to be a lot of talking with customers to see what's successful, what works for them, where do we need the improvements. And then, and so I do a lot of telling my company that we're going to push really hard to bring a product out, and then we take a step back and we listen to customers. And you know, a lot of times when you're doing something innovative, you think you're into some great solution, and then you realize, oh, I'm working on the wrong problem. and so with a lot of Annex, it was build it, get it out there, and then see what the industry and my customers thought about it, and see where they have success, and then innovate upon that. So I'm going to ask 3 people, where's your company going to be? How are you going to be using technology? What will that look like in 5 years, in 10 years, in 10,000 years? Okay? So 5 years. What do you think?
Sold.
Sold. All right. Yeah. All right. Nice. Pete's got a couple of copies we're giving out of Amp It Up. This is a book I read last year. I read it like several times within a week, and then I bought every one of my employees this copy. It's by Frank Slootman. He's the CEO of Snowflake, which was, and this is kind of his philosophy of excellence in a workplace. And so that's a book I'm a big believer in. So people will be giving out copies. So in for 10 years, where do you think? 10 years. Right here.
Well, yeah, hard to say, I guess. 10 years from now, I mean.
What business are you?
So we're a document destruction in Ohio.
Okay.
We're a pretty small business, relatively. We've only got 13 customers, including myself. 13 employees, including myself, and so that's small. Yeah, that's actually a great question. Technology is, you know, we're, again, being like a small family-oriented business, we're sort of behind in that regard. Yeah. The most advanced program we use is QuickBooks. So, you know, yeah, maybe, I mean, depends on what new management looks like, I guess, 10 years from now. I'm hoping that, it's not a job, hoping that there might be a second facility that we work out of. But technology-wise, I think we could integrate a little more AI into our marketing and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good.
The 10-year, Aaron, I'll tell you, I've been with O'Neill for 23 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've watched, back we had the big brick scanners.
Yeah.
And you have taken us, O'Neill has taken us today, and I hope you continue to take us where we need to be in 10 years from now.
Yeah.
I really believe in what you have in your business, running your business, dictates where you're going to go. And if you can't keep up with times, so 10 years, I hope that I am twice as far as I am right now. And 10,000 years, I don't give a shit. I'll be there.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for that. All right. 10,000 years. Where will Shred be? And what will you be doing in 10,000 years? Shred on the moon. All right. Nice. Yeah. For me, just getting that vision of where's my company going to be in 5 years, where are my customers going to be in 5 years or 10 years, and say, what are their challenges going to be? How are they going to be using technology? How do I give them the edge? How do I give them the advantage? And so I really believe when you look at the technology that's being invested in right now, what we're going to see in 5-10 years is we're going to see a lot of warehouse automation with the humanoid robots. You're going to see, there's a lot of R&D going to self-driving cars. I totally believe in 10 years you're going to, as a record center or a shredder, you'll have a fleet of small self-driving vehicles that are just for goods, and someone puts a box in it and it comes back. I think the electric shred trucks are never going to work. They're too heavy. It's too much volume. We're gonna have to think outside the box as far as. No, I'm sorry, no pun intended. But as far as how we solve some of these problems and what technology is out there. And so my goal coming into O'Neill was to bring it back to being the innovators in the industry. And so I constantly tell my staff we innovate on behalf of our customers. And so, what we're doing today is building a foundation for our customers to have a thriving business 5, 10,000 years from now.